Do you hate and love dentistry all at the same time? My friends, you are not going crazy. You are human. And today we are talking about how we can love and hate something at the same time. Welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a phenomenal day as we talk about something we've all felt in our lives, and we've never had the words to describe or explain it. And maybe it's something you've even felt sorry for, or embarrassed about, or concerned about. I know I have in the past. Imagine for a moment a time where you felt two different things that felt absolutely opposing and you thought, am I going crazy here? Or you start questioning yourself. Should I be feeling this way? How many times have you said that to yourself? Especially in our personal lives. I feel like this happens often. When you adore your spouse, really love your spouse, but man, he pissed you off this morning and you're really angry at him. Yeah. Guess what? You can hold two seemingly opposing, conflicting emotions, thoughts, or ideas at the same time. You are that powerful. You are that capable. And it's what makes you so extraordinary. I'm going to read you this quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald. And then we're going to unpack it a little bit because I think this is a perfect quote for today's episode. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold the opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Okay, that's what F. Scott Fitzgerald said. And I'd like to reword it a little bit for my own purposes, modernize it a little bit, but I'm going to tell you exactly how we can use this as a superpower. I think sometimes we give ourselves a disservice by not recognizing how capable we are to hold two emotions, two ideas, two thoughts that seem so contradictory at once. It's what makes us the more quote-unquote intelligent race. I know that's up for debate sometimes, but it is a superpower. And when you learn to harness loving that capability, that's when you see relationships soar, your own personal development soaring, and your business and your career soar, because it's the truth of who we are. I remember years ago loving my patients, loving the work that I was doing, really feeling very proud about the orthodontics that I was, performing every day and seeing these gorgeous smiles, these completed treatments, or, all my ortho colleagues out there, when you see that impacted canine finally pierced through, it's a celebration, or when you see in your patient's eyes lighting up, they can't believe when they look back at their old photos how beautifully aligned their teeth are. Or when you have that moment when they look at themselves in the mirror and they really love what they see. Those kinds of interactions I love. I love that part of orthodontics. And I love the business part too. But I remember a couple years ago dreading going to work every day because I was feeling super stressed and overwhelmed. And it felt so weird in my body to have both of those feelings. And I started second guessing myself, started asking myself, am I in the right profession? Did I make a mistake? Why do I love it one moment and hate it the next? Why is my body feeling so uncomfortable in the mornings? Why am I dreading Mondays and really, experiencing those Sunday scaries? And it wasn't until I gave myself permission to just allow both emotions to exist that I could start to unravel and figure out what was really going on inside me. I think when we tell ourselves, no, I feel this way, and we deny ourselves the other feeling, we really trap emotions trap understanding, and we bypass a unique opportunity for greater healing. Because what came from that exercise, from just sitting down with myself and saying, okay, I love what I do. Is that true? And then just exploring all those places in my work that I loved, unraveling and recognizing, yeah, this lights me up. This fuels me. In these moments, what are my favorite moments of the day? And when I did that, I really identified, yeah, it's that one-on-one interaction. It's leading the team. It's learning new things. For me, one of my greatest, strongest human needs is growth. And so for me, going to CE events and learning new things and teaching new things, man, that lit me up. So there's a component of what I did that was really true for me. It wasn't me pretending. And then there was the other side, the overwhelm, the burnout, and really attaching negative feelings, uncomfortable feelings, disempowered feelings to the work I was doing, feeling like it was running me down, feeling like it was ruling my time. I was feeling trapped. I was feeling hemmed in. When I sat with those emotions, I allowed myself to really feel them and acknowledge them. You know, giving yourself permission to feel feelings is so important. I think in the past, I might have pushed them down and said, no. Dentistry's great. Ortho's great. I'm always happy all the time. Especially, you guys know me. I have a very positive, happy persona most of the time. So when those uncomfortable emotions came up, I very easily squashed them down. But here's the thing. In those uncomfortable emotions, that's where the greatest growth and healing lies. When we allow ourselves to be fully honest with ourselves. One of the things we talk about in my Radical Happiness for Practitioners group, and we were just having this conversation this week, is trusting your emotions. You always can trust how you feel. So many people say to me, Tarryn, how do I listen to my intuition? How do I get back in touch with my intuition? Which, by the way, if you're feeling that way, you're not alone, because this society and this profession and our education system in general has taught us how to dissociate from our own intuition and really to believe that everyone else knows better than we do. Am I resonating with anyone? Does that sound familiar? Oh my gosh. That was an unlearning that took me a very long time. It still is to discover. I digress. When we get in touch with our emotions, allow and trust our emotions, that is the beginning of rediscovering your relationship with your own intuition. And your intuitive knowing is more powerful than any CE course you can go to, than any guru or consultant. Your intuitive knowing absolutely will always guide you. But step one is becoming back in realization of your emotions, of trusting your emotions. So when these two opposing emotions come up, allow for them. Allow for them. You know, I had a conversation with my son a couple of weeks ago, and in that moment, I really didn't like him. I love my son. I absolutely love my son. He is an amazing young man. I am so proud of the person he's becoming. But in that moment, I did not like what he was saying. I did not like his perspective, and I did not like the conversation that we were in. When I gave myself permission to have and hold both of those, it was enormously freeing. We get to walk away from conversations that are painful or hurtful, even when they come from loved ones, people we love. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, is going through a very difficult time with her father right now. He's not being respectful of her son's choices. And that's really putting an uncomfortable wedge in their relationship. And guess what? That's absolutely okay. She is discovering that she can walk away from interaction with her father right now because it's not a healthy situation and still love him from afar. We can love people and be in moments where we need to protect ourselves and distance ourselves and really create boundaries in order to heal or simply to protect ourselves. Same thing with work. We can love it, and there can be an aspect of work that when we really look at it, it's not such a great thing. And this is where we don't emotionally bypass. We recognize it, we give it airtime, we give it recognition, and then we make new choices because that's what we can do. You never have to live the same life that you lived yesterday or last week or 10 years ago. You get to choose, and every day we have more information in our lives, more information about ourselves, if we choose to look at it, with which to make new choices all the time. All the time. We get to ask for what we need, even if we asked for the opposite last week. So, understanding that your emotions are always trustworthy. If you're feeling something, anger, sadness, stress, overwhelm, burnout, frustration, all of those are valid, and feeling them to their core allows us to understand what's behind it. So for me, I realized that the way I had structured the business several years ago, I had limited my ability for greater creative expansion. I had made my business so efficient, so well-oiled, that what I was missing was the creative aspect of my life. And yes, there's so much creativity in dentistry. Yes, there's so much creativity in smiles, but I wanted more. I needed more. And I recognized that I was feeling the burnout because I wasn't offering myself space and time for my creative pursuits. And once I recognized that, I could make new choices. I could make new choices about how I spent my day, my week, my hours, and really lean into what my body was calling for, what my heart was calling for, what my soul was calling for. I didn't have to turn my back on orthodontics then. And I didn't have to just accept what was, just settle for what was. Because if I had done that, and here's what I'd love for you to imagine. If we push down one emotion and we just push through regardless, can you just play out this scenario with me a little while here? If I had ignored that uncomfortable feeling of, oh, this feels so uncomfortable, but I'm happy, and I just kept telling myself, I love what I do, let's pretend this uncomfortable feeling doesn't exist. Let's roll out the timeline. Let's do some future forecasting here. And you can do this for yourself. In 3 years' time, if nothing changes, what would that look like? If nothing changed in 3 years' time, where would you be? What impact would that have on your business, your career, your loved ones, your patients, your team, your body, your mental health? You can always ask yourself that question. And when I did, I realized, oh, if I keep stuffing down this emotion of feeling creatively stumped, creatively blunted, I'm going to start hating what I do. I'm going to start feeling worse and worse about myself and what I do. And I knew something needed to change. And that change doesn't always need to be huge. Sometimes the change is just a little tweak, just a little shift. Sometimes that change needs to be voiced to another person in a conversation. Sometimes it's just recognition for yourself. But the key here is you can hold two opposing emotions at the same time. And I think what F. Scott Fitzgerald meant when he said, and still retain the ability to function, what I think he really meant was, and so thrive. I don't want to just function, guys. I'm not here to just survive. I don't want to live this life just getting by. Can I get a whoop whoop? How many of you agree with me? This life is for me not just to get by, just to function. I'm here to live. I'm here to make massive impact. I'm here to leave legacy, to leave a mark on this world, to leave this world a better place. And for me, just functioning won't cut it. But when I allow myself the opportunity to feel two opposing things at the same time, to understand myself deeper because of it, that's when I thrive. Because that's when I can make those little shifts and lift it up a notch and settle back into a life of enormous abundance and joy and thrive state. You know, my son, that same one I mentioned earlier in the episode, he left yesterday on a 2-week trip. He's going to London on a summer camp, studying cybersecurity and coding. You know, guys, this is over my head. He's my techie geek. I adore him for it, but he is so much smarter than I am when it comes to technology. So he's going to London to do this beautiful program that he's so excited about. And he's 15, and he flew internationally by himself yesterday for the first time. And he's not here this week. And I am so proud of him. I am so excited for him. I just am beaming with excitement for him. And I'm really sad. I miss him. You know, the summer is the one time we have lots of time together. And I was worried about him flying, but I also know he can do it at the same time. And when we get stuck in the seemingly contradictory feeling of those emotions, we can trap ourselves into anxiety and stress. But just recognizing, oh, I am so excited and happy for him, and I am scared for him at the same time. Okay, I can do both. I can hold both emotions. And when I look at this uncomfortable one of being scared for him, I realize that those fears are my fears. They're mine. They're not his. He's going to do great. And I think just being able to honor yourself for holding two opposing emotions at the same time takes off all the stress. Not everything has to be fixed immediately. We don't always have to have an immediate answer. But allowing ourselves to feel all the emotions is the key, not trapping one down because we feel another, or trapping one down because we feel like we should. Allowing them both to exist. Imagine a world where you allowed yourself to feel the full scope of human emotions as a dentist, as a doctor, as a parent, as a daughter, as a significant other. Imagine the world when you could feel all the things and really honor that part of your humanness and recognize that emotions are beautiful indicators of what really matters, of what's really important to you, indicators of a need for healing, indicators of a need to be heard and seen. How much better? Now we can do that future forecasting. If in 3 years, for the next 3 years, you allowed yourself to feel all your emotions and to understand what was behind them, and then maybe to make some tweaky adjustments along the way, what would that impact be on the world around you? Where would you be in your growth and ascension? Where would you be in terms of saying yes to your dreams? Well, I'll tell you, just by listening to this podcast, just by being here and with me on this episode, you're already doing amazing things. if you just realize how many people live without ever paying attention to their emotions, who just live blinded to what reality is, thinking they're living in reality, but really living with masks and blinders of a deeper understanding of what's happening. I honor you because you really are doing the work by paying attention to how you feel, by asking yourself what is behind those emotions, by recognizing that just because you have doctor in front of your name doesn't mean you don't have feelings. In fact, your feelings are your superpower. Well, my friends, remember, when you feel good, that's when you can do good. And it's okay to sometimes not feel so good. In fact, that's how we get to the good, by allowing ourselves to not feel good and understanding what's underneath it. I wish you a phenomenal rest of your week. And remember, when you feel good, when you recognize how you feel, you understand the uncomfortable emotions, you allow yourself to understand what's underneath them, and then you reach for what would bring me so much more empowerment, what would bring me so much more joy, what do I need right now? That's when you can actually do great things in this world. See you next week. Bye-bye.